Good evening. Welcome for Found with Love. Today, I'm your host, Ashun. I'm here with First Lady Deborah Womack from Faithful Baptist Church. And, I asked her here because part of my degree that I'm working on with Memphis Theological Seminary is about the formation of land, food, and faith, how those things should work together the way God intended. God intends us to be our brother's keeper. And one thing I love about Faithful Baptist is their commitment to the community. And prior to Pastor Womack passing and transitioning to heaven, he was a large voice about making sure the city and we took care of one another, especially in the South Memphis community where the church is located. He was a champion for justice, and then there for 2 years, what I loved about Faithful, they always found ways to give back to the community. When I say this lady works tirelessly in the church, providing food baskets, providing school supplies. If she's not having this type of drive, she's having this type of drive. So I just wanted to bring her on so she can highlight some of the things that Faithful Baptist is doing and what she is truly passionate about. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Deborah. You can talk about what drove you or put this giving nature inside of you and how you carry it out using Faithful.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Fuquay, for having me.
Thank you.
Well, I this has been in me since I can remember, probably in kindergarten
Hmm.
when we were in school, and I remember sitting in the cafeteria, and a young lady, one of my classmates, was sitting across the room, and she was looking very sad, and she was just looking like she was about to cry. And I'm sitting there with my little lunch, my little greasy sack. I don't know what I was having for lunch that day, but it was a little greasy sack and it had an apple in it. And I looked over there and all the other students were just kind of, doing their own thing. And I looked across the room and she was looking very sad, like she was about to cry. So I picked my lunch up and I went over to her seat and plopped down. And I took my apple out of it and I took my little, I think it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I broke it in half and I handed it to her. And then she bit hers and I bit mine. And I bit my apple and I handed it to her. We weren't
Wow.
concerned about germs then.
Yeah, back then.
But I bit it, I gave it to her, and we've been friends ever since. We've
Wow.
been best of friends ever since. So I think it started then.
Hmm.
But I just feel that it's just so important. I'm a firm believer that if you're not helping somebody, then our living is in vain.
Yes.
So I when I met Pastor, of course, we was always doing that. But when I met my husband, that was his vision as well. He believed in helping people, giving back. He was very passionate about children and helping our children and our young people and mentoring them. And so when we started Faithful Baptist Church over on Eli Street, uh, the church wasn't big enough to do a food pantry or an outreach ministry. So we just did it on the street. We had the food delivered on the sidewalk, and we stood out on the sidewalk, and we passed out food, and we did that for about 20 years while we were over
Wow.
there on Eli Street. And then when the Lord blessed to move to where we are now on Fling Road, that was just a vision because He gave us everything that we had prayed about in terms of the space to do outreach ministry.
Hmm.
So now we're just blessed to have a food pantry, a diaper bank, a clothes closet, a toiletry items closet, just everything that is needed to be able to help to help in the community, because that's really the great commission that God has called us to do,
Yes.
to go out and to help those that are in need.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important for us to always be opening to helping support our brothers and sisters. We always like to say we want to support believers, but God wants you to support people. Because how can you win them over for Him if you can't approach them?
That's right.
And so we can't be afraid to go out in the community and speak and share. And one thing I love about what you used to do, you have made inroads and connections with a lot of people and a lot of organizations across the city. And by using those relationships, Faithful is really looked at as a pinnacle for their community because you guys really stand alone in what you do, and you're always there consistently doing those things. When God left, And he wanted to say, well, yeah, come back, you need to be doing something. Don't be doing the same thing you were doing when I left. And for me, as I watch you guys, I have watched you guys grow over the years, that commitment to that initial vision that God gave you guys, you never deterred from it. So what kept you going? How did you reconcile what the world looks like and the way some people perceive you to be, to perceive the way you should act with the vision that God gave you? Did you take any type of flack? Did at any time people thought that you guys shouldn't be doing what you was doing? Or what kept you driven the way you are?
The love of God. The
Hmm.
love of God, it begins and ends with Him. I mean, and it's not just a love of God that we see, is the love of God that's within you.
Yes.
It's got to be really in you. It's
Yes.
got to be rooted and grounded and embedded in you. Um, and I was thinking, I was talking the other day, we were over there, we were doing baskets, and we
Mhm.
were putting together baskets, and it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. It was very cold. I believe it was last week. And we just started singing, oh, we know we love the Lord. You got to show the Lord to do this. And one of the young ladies that was with me, she had us on Facebook, and before we know it, people were calling and everything about getting baskets.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the thing is that it really takes just loving God and being serious about the things of God and commandments that He's given us to love people. And certainly the other thing that helps and motivate me to move is because when you've been there, I've been hungry before. I've gone to church and was hungry.
Mhm.
So when you've experienced that, then you're more compassionate. You have more compassion for people and loving people, especially the children, because they didn't ask to come here. So those things move me and motivate me to want to do more. And I believe that when people see that passion in you, they'll help you.
Yes.
Not only just the people within your church, but people within the community. MIFA,
Mhm.
MIFA is one of I used to work for MIFA, and even now they send people, they put our church on their website so that when even though that there have been things that have funding that has stopped them from being able to do certain things, they've been able to use Faithful as a vessel
Okay.
to still meet the needs of the community. So I'm grateful to them as well.
Yes, God allows those divine connections that He bring us together. I know you was mentioning about growing up. Uh, we grew up hungry sometimes. There was times in our life that we can't say. If you truly look back over your life, you realize that sometimes you was placed in a position where you needed to lean on your neighbors. You need to lean on your community. And for us today, sometimes people think about leaning on the church in the wrong way. We have to present ourselves as that body of Christ that He put us there for a reason. The Bible says in Malachi, bring all the meat into the storehouse, bring all the tithes and offerings to the storehouse, there'll be meat in my house. So as we tithe, as we give offerings to the church, right, that allows the church to do things for the community, along with partnering with places like MIFA. We have to make sure that we teach the church and the people that's in the church. When I say church, I mean the body, not the physical building, right? So when we teach the church that God has a responsibility on your life to tithe, to give offerings, and to work in the calling that He put you in. He started with you at a young age about caring, right? About giving, about sharing. All of us should have that same thing inside of us, that love, that agape love, that hospitality, right? The need and the care and the concern you have for your brother, for your sister. We should never want to see a person sitting there hungry. Years ago, me and my wife was talking about. I used to see people standing on the side of the road, and I was like, I ain't giving these folks no money. I just can't do it. I couldn't do it. Then God began to deal with me. He said, once you give them the money, it's off of you. You have more than what you need. So I call you to take care of them, right? If that person turns around and go buy some alcohol with it, go buy some drugs with it, that has nothing to do with what I told you to do. I want to see, well, you're going to be obedient to what I'm telling you. I can fix the end result. That same person can come back and buy that water, that wine, and pour it out and come to church the next day. because you stopped and you poured into their life, you gave into their life. But we also got to understand that sometimes we have to take time just to speak to our people in the community, speak to our people in the church. Don't get so big to where we don't know anybody in the church. It becomes a stopping place. So, as the church leader, how important is it to you to actually know the members of your congregation?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mean, and certainly, understandably, if you got 10,000 members, you may not be able uh, to speak with everyone, but there should be some avenues in which the members feel a part.
Mhm.
Fortunately for us, we don't have that problem, but we're able to interact with all of our members. But the thing is that you have to be able to show love to all of them.
Mhm.
And I think that it's important not to be biased, to love everyone wherever they are. It's not about how much money you have, how much less money you have, but who you are as an individual. And I'm thinking about what you just said a moment ago. The thing is that we we have to be careful, how we treat people. A lot of times when we're trying to minister to people, we're telling them, God is with you. We're gonna be praying for you. When really all they want is a bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
So you got to meet them where they are.
Right.
You got to meet the need first. Then you'll be able to minister to them and to talk to them about God. Because your previous guest was talking about agape love, because love really just takes care of everything.
Yeah.
And I believe that even in our city today, that a lot of we can have a lot of programs, and those things are good, and conflict resolution and all those things are good. But I think at the end of the day, the bottom line is going to be love. It's love that's going to draw them.
Mhm.
Because when people feel love, then they'll listen to you, and then they'll trust you. So I think that that's important as a leader in the community.
What one thing you just said, I truly like. When you said before we can start to minister, we got to have love. I think sometimes as Christians, we become those people who love to quote the Bible, and a person tell you they're going through something, you got a scripture ready. You just write that thing off, but you haven't heard anything they were saying. They may need you just to listen to them, right? But we jump right into that preaching mode. We jump right into that professing Christ mode when Christ stopped and listened and asked what did they need before he went out to preach to them. I think we're missing that today. And when you said that, like, that shit, there you go right there. That's it. We have to be able as Christians, not only to be able to really preach about why we are Christians, what we believe in, but we first got to take off and tear down our walls around us and let people get to us so we can see what their true need is. If you got a person who may be evicted out their house tomorrow, they don't really need to hear God can do it.
Right.
They need it done right then. That $5 you got, that $10 that you got can help save what they either they feed them that day or help them prepare. And a lot of times we feel that pressing of God to tell us to give, to give, to give, to give. But we begin, like you said, we begin to look at what they look like, right? And say, they're not gonna do it right.
And I think that that's why it's so important that people understand when you are a part of something, when you're a part of a church, how important it is to give, because you don't ever know when that need, you're going to have that need on down the road. Because when the church is able to do things, I know the church is not necessarily to always pay a utility bill,
Mm-hmm.
but then that is an option if the church is able to. But if you only got 20% of the people giving, then when the church is strapped, because the Bible tells us that the church is taken care of through tithes and offerings.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're giving and you're helping, you're really helping yourself, because you don't know how later on down the road that there's going to be a need, and you want the church to be able to be equipped in order to do that. I pray about those things,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm always thinking so much further than the vision, as far as what is needed. All when people come and say they've been getting ready to be evicted out of their homes, we want to be that. We want God to use me to be able to be the blessing to that person, to be able help that person. I hate to see anybody in need,
Mhm.
and knowing you can't do it all.
Right.
You just can't do it all, but you want to be able to help the need, and that's why the vision is always to be able to do more in the community. We're always looking for things in which the church can grow, to open up even more outreach within the community, to be able to have after school programs and
Mhm.
computer labs and all types of things that pastor was passionate about in trying to spearhead. So we're trying to continue on and to keep that legacy going.
Great, great. I think this is a great time for us to take a quick break while we gather up questions from our audience. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Found with Love. I'm here, LaShawn, your host, along with still Miss Deborah Womack of Faithful Baptist Church. And we just want to wrap up this thing about outreach. We both agree having community outreach is so vital, right? One of the things we look at that Memphis is a city that has a lot of food deserts, is dealing with a lot of food insecurity. What we don't realize is that's a structural or system thing that really drives community of color into a place to where they begin to see there's not enough food in the community. All the low-paying jobs are in the community. They begin to remove grocery stores from the community and backfill them with fast food places, right? So when you one of the key signs to understand whether or not you're living in a food desert is if the grocery store is more than 5 miles away from where you actually live, work, or go to church, it's considered a food desert. Because if you take South Memphis and you look at, okay, how far this grocery store is, I think by grocery store standards, a full scale, there's only three in the community of South Memphis. And they're really at the very outskirts of where the church is at. And so you got to look at that. Okay, I got all these corner grocery stores. I got these gas stations that sell food. And what happens is when we go in there, eating all the fried food, eating all the pizza they got ready, a couple things happen. First of all, you're raising up your high blood pressure, you're raising up your diabetes. So you find communities like South Memphis who deal with a lot of obesity, deal with a lot of high blood pressure issues, and deal with a lot of issues when it comes to having a high A1C, right? Because now you're, instead of going to the store where you have access to healthy food, now you're going, you buying that quickly prepared food that's either fried or dyed, laid to the side, like we always say, because it's easy for you to do. And we think, okay, but I'm eating, but you're not eating the right stuff. And by you're talking about the outreach she's doing for the community with the food drives and the partner with MIFA. This type of access is what's needed in these type of communities that where we have seen so much stuff been removed. So many people are still being oppressed and marginalized from the system. And we need churches like Faithful Baptist continue to step up and break up that, right? And it's all about partnering with the relationship, having a relationship with the community. And I think that Faithful's in a very good place with the community because again, as we was talking, we was off air, they're getting ready to do a food drive, right? And I know my people was asking for, is there a way they can connect with you or connect with the church about the upcoming food drive you have?
And actually, we have our pantry is open The only thing that we ask is that, you call and set up an appointment because it's worked off of volunteers and volunteers within the church. And
Hmm.
most of them have jobs and families. And so we work around their schedules of when myself as well as others can come to the church. And we try to schedule them pretty much in the same time frame so that we can meet the needs of everyone. So we have a pantry inside of our church. We also offer monthly food drives, which we've done all year. We've actually done our last one for this year, just this month. We've already had it, but
Okay.
we will commence that again on next year. But all they have to do is call the church, and I can give them the number. It's 901-361-7319 is the number to call should you like to schedule an appointment to come and get a food box. And if you don't get anyone on the line, please text.
Mhm.
Text always works because that way we're able to track it, track the food, the person that's calling and give them a call back.
Great. And that was my, I hear certain things, certain times, I'm so young, being I'm only 40 years old. Sometimes my hearing just don't work the way it should work. But we did get some questions from the audience. And the first question is, how did you start outreach? Did you do a survey, or what does the community need? Do you connect with like social workers?
Well, we started the outreach uh, through the Mid-South Food Bank. The Mid-South Food Bank, we partner with the Mid-South Food Bank who we pick food up from them. We have food delivered. So we've been partnering with them for about 5 years.
Okay.
And that's a great partnership. And to be honest, if it wasn't for the food bank, I don't know if we could be as successful as we are because they are a great partnership in ensuring that we have adequate enough food to feed the community. In regards to what the community needs, it's just basically thinking of human needs.
Mhm.
It wasn't that I had to think about what they need because we think about what I need. You need food, you need shelter, you need, relationships. All of those things are extremely important. So I look around and in the community and we know that the people need food. So we try to provide that, but we're also working to provide other things in the community. Like we're trying to provide information to women, with substance abuse, other things that are needed within the community, substance abuse, domestic violence. We're working to partner with agencies that we can have classes and things that can help people, and also a computer lab. We're working to secure some computers so that we can open up a computer lab. So when the students get out of school, the children get out of school, they can come and do their homework, and we can provide them with a snack. And then by the time they do all of that and some prayer and some fun activities, by then their parents ought to be home, and that way they won't have to be home alone. And then it keeps them out of trouble. So we're trying to provide an avenue in which we can reach all bases.
Great, great. And I love that food lab, no, not food lab, the computer lab, because that what really draws young people in. If you got something that they can use, but you got to make sure they're not online looking at things they ain't supposed to be looking at. You know what I'm saying? But they're not like we were when we was kids. We believe in getting outside, going to play with somebody. So today everything is tied up on in that computer, on that phone. And so again, like you said earlier, we got to meet them where they're at. The other question we have, I don't know if it was a statement or they want us to expand on it, but it kind of resides around what I said earlier, that I used to look at homeless people or person and judge, uh, and really thought about should I give or shouldn't I give. But now instead, the Lord has convicted them that this is what He wants them to do. And that's the way we always got to be. We have to be open for the unction or the pushing of the Holy Spirit. If you feel something, God is trying to tell you something. I look about how we grew up. We didn't grow up with everything, right? There's a whole lot of times we wanted things. And I'm all about taking that next generation, my son, my daughter, and tell them, don't go for where I at. You shoot above me. And we have to make sure our children are teaching their children who teach their children, don't be satisfied with where you are today, but never forget where you came from because you still need to go back there and help other people that's still there. Just because I left Magnolia, just because we left Castelia, just because we left Lamar Avenue, Lamar Cove, those places are still there.
That's right.
So it's still opportunities to go back and do more outreach, right? And build that bridge to where first they feel like there is safety in speaking to the church. Because a lot of times they don't trust us in the church because they think we're going to put their business out in the street, or they do like this person said, that we're going to judge them for who they are. All of us started or came to this world in one form. Sometimes you was in a good household. Sometimes you're in a household that was challenged. And we oftentimes think about being challenged with the physical, the money. But a lot of times we are challenged mentally. We are challenged with love. Was there actual love in the house? You can have all the money you want, but if no one loves anybody in the house, everybody come in the house and go to their separate rooms. You don't see each other unless you're going out the house. The house is absence of love. And we got to be sure as Christians that our house is filled with love. And so that love can display in the food drives. The love can display in the women's shelter. That love can be displayed in having this computer program session for children that can come. And as we can get the children into the church, we can change their lives. Because if we begin to put that spirit in them at an early age, and said, train up a child as he should go. And when he leaves, it will not depart him. If we train them up now, something gonna click. I'm not gonna say they're gonna live a perfect life, but just like the son, the prodigal son, is to give me all my stuff right now. I'm gonna go out and party. But sooner or later, he had to come back to his senses and say, let me go back home. Go back to my father. Even though I don't deserve to be loved, I don't deserve you to even like me anymore because what I did was wrong. But that father, our father, opened up his arms and invited him back in like he had never left. So as if we're going to be the true representation of Christ, we cannot judge. Because the same measure in which we judge, we will be judged. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be judged like that. I want my faith in the things that I did on this earth to be counted. So God can say, well done, my good and faithful servant. Not, no, let me go, but let me roll this back. Remember this day when I called you, you didn't do it? Remember this day when I called you, you didn't do it? And this day and this day and this year, and you never did anything I said. Leave. I don't know you.
Because he tells us that when he says, you know, when did you do it to me? He said, you didn't feed my people. You didn't give them
Water,
when they was thirsty. And he says,
shelter,
when did I do it? He says, when you done it to
to
the
the
least of
least.
them, you done it to me.
And who are the least?
Yeah.
Usually people we don't want to walk up to because we either feel like we uncomfortable with them or we feel like they don't deserve it. We don't deserve Christ. So why should we be afraid to approach someone on the street? I'm all about you being safe, right? But there comes a time when you say, I'm about to trust God. I'm gonna walk to this person and speak to this person. We just finished reading a book about angels, and the guy talked about he saw this person on the street and he drove past. I gotta stop and go back. I gotta share the word of God with him. He went back and he spoke to him. He got back car and looked back, and the guy was gone. And God revealed him, I want to see what you're going to stop. That was an angel was waiting to see if you're going to stop. Yeah, you talk this, you talk that, but when I put somebody in front of you, are you truly going to do it? And so we have to be always be cognizant of that. A lot of times God is testing you. You look in your wallet. God asked me for Kroger's the other night. I have $3 in my wallet. That's all I had. He said, man, I'm here. I'm blind with my child. I just need anything else. Look, I got $3. That's all I got. Didn't ask questions, try to stay there to speak with him, try to change his life. So, okay, hope you be blessed. I'm moving, right? That's all I got. We have to be that. And starting with the programs that you have, I really appreciate it. You also mentioned coming up next year, you may have talked about already, um, you're going to be starting something else.
Yes, I'm excited about it. We are going to start next year, the Reverend Dr. Walter Womack Scholarship Fund. We're going to initiate the scholarship fund for those seniors going off to college, majoring in social justice, criminal justice, any of those justices that is going to be helping in the community. Because our pastor, he was, yeah, as you know, the SCLC
Yeah,
president, and he was about justice. So we're going to be initiating that, kicking that off, and we're excited about that. And
that's
yeah,
awesome.
it is. It is awesome. So we just want to let everyone know that we are here. We're here in the community and we're pressing on, we're pressing forward, keeping the legacy alive.
Mm.
And if anyone needs city food, again, the number is 901-361-7319, Faithful Baptist Church, 462 Flynn Road, Memphis, Tennessee. Walk on.
All right. Miss Deborah, I thank you for joining. I know we've been talking about this for a couple of months now. We finally was able to get it together. So again, I appreciate the time you took out of your day to come spend with us here at Found with Love. So any closing remarks you'd like to give to the audience before we leave?
Just that I appreciate the opportunity. I really do appreciate the opportunity to get the word out. It's always so important. A lot of times we don't know. We learn about things afterwards. So it's important to get the word out. And I'm certainly thankful and grateful to be able to use your platform to do that.
Well, you again, you're welcome to come back anytime you want to. Uh, we will be here. Of course, you have my number. You can reach out any given time. Whenever y'all have something going on that you want to speak about, please reach out. And with that, again, thank you for watching today. Thank you for joining Found with Love. I'm your host, LaShawn, here today with Deborah Womack, First Lady of Faithful Baptist Church, located at 462 Flynn Road in Memphis. Please reach out to them, partner with them, help them out if you live in that community. And always like the video, share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button now. Be blessed. See you next time.